Cheers! Welcome to Movie Bitches, episode 118. So tonight we're reviewing When the Bough Breaks.
Otherwise known as The Hand That Rocks the Cradle.
Otherwise known as boring.
Otherwise known as The Deadly Adoption.
Right? But like The Deadly Adoption was more fun than this movie.
I found them both tedious in different ways.
Yeah. So this movie is about a couple who wants to have a baby but they can't, and so they hire a surrogate.
Yep.
And then shit goes down.
Well,
kind of.
Not for an hour and 10 to 15 to 20 minutes.
Oh my god. So like, seriously though, this movie is an hour and 47 minutes long or something.
Is that it?
Yeah, it's not that long. And yet, nothing happens. Literally nothing happens for the first hour. They're just like, oh, we picked a surrogate. Isn't she great? Come on in. Oh, her boyfriend beat her. Like, that was the first thing that, like, happened.
Right.
And even then, it was, like, kind of just, like, this little thing. And then they're like, well, you'll move in with us. And you're like, oh, but shit's gonna... No, nothing really happens.
So, it starts, and they're this perfect couple with this perfect house.
She's, like, a chef.
She's a chef / interior designer /
It's weird.
Party planner.
I don't know.
And they're perfect. They have a giant house. Everything's
blah, blah, blah.
fabulous.
Yeah, but they can't have
They live in Louisiana, but no one has an accent.
We tried for a long time to get pregnant.
We're gonna have a family.
I love that dress.
That must be nice.
Not a one person. And so then they pick their surrogate. She's this young, hot, shy thing. And for me, she didn't go full... She went full crazy. But they set up enough of her past that I felt bad for her.
A little bit.
And so I was like, I wish this movie had decided to do something more interesting. Because it just did the movie that you completely, fully expected and nothing else.
No, it didn't. I expected more.
Well, I expected it to be crazier and sillier, but the basic plot of...
Sure.
Oh, we got a surrogate. Oh, she's crazy.
Yeah.
She's in love with Morris Chestnut. Oh, we had to kill her. Now we get to keep the baby. Like, you knew all that was going to happen.
See, I didn't think that was what it was. I thought it was going to be darker and crazier.
Sure. We were expecting it to be more Lifetimey, and it was just more boring.
You know, they were going to be like, oh, I'm considering keeping it for myself unless you pay me $2 million. And then they do, and then she's like, just kidding, I wasn't even pregnant. That was your last embryo. Bye. You know, and then you're like, what?
That's crazy.
And then Morris Chestnut is so angry that he's like, I'm going to hunt you down, bitch, and kill you.
Ooh.
And then he does.
Ooh. See, now that would have been an exciting film.
Right? And she never even really threatens him. She wants to be with him, is what we're supposed to believe.
That's what I mean. I think she genuinely was in love with him and was super fucked up from her childhood.
Yes.
And so I kind of wish, if they were going to do the boring same plot, I wish that they had twisted it, and instead of it being like, yeah, fuck her, she should die in the end, they should have been like, you need psychiatric help.
Yeah.
Can we, like, help you because you're a fragile creature? Okay, so the major problem, I guess, is because Morris Chestnut, I don't know if it's him or the writing or whatever, his character has to be completely moral and true throughout the whole movie.
Right.
And so you're never really rooting for them to get it on.
No.
Like, you're never like, ooh, yeah, at least it'll be real sexy.
Will they, won't they? I don't know.
You're just like, he's clearly not into you, and you seem crazy, and he's just this sort of pious, you know, bland.
It was really bland. It was just like really dull.
The whole first hour had this real like
the music was just terrible.
It was like Danny Elfman does a drama.
The cues were off.
Yeah.
You'd be like dun dun dun, but it was just like them hanging out. You're like, what? Am I supposed to be scared that she's gonna like just all of a sudden like bipolar attack him?
Right.
What's going on? I wanted there to be more plot and strategy of the surrogate and her boyfriend plotting against like this family.
Their motives are very unclear.
They keep saying the scam, but what scam? I don't know what's going on. She's clearly raising their baby.
Well, and the surrogate seems conflicted by this.
Yes.
Right? And so you're like, so he had a plan, but what was his plan?
Well, like, why did he beat her? Why was he so crazy? Was he always beating her, and then we just didn't know that that was a thing?
Because, I thought it was going to be like, oh, she beat herself up as a way to get into their house.
Yeah,
because,
I did too.
Like, get me out of this life.
Well, either that, or she beat herself up to get into the house, so that then the part 2 of their, like, he's a roofer.
Sure.
And, like,
They're gonna
talking about, like, this weak point in his window or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, when's that gonna come into play? Not at all.
Okay, so her character is confusing and annoying because literally the first hour, 15, 20 is her just feeling her oaths.
Yeah, which was
Just
kind of
like-
fun, but, like,
We
weird.
just got over it.
Well, and also, you got
It didn't
over it.
escalate. It was just like, I'm so...
That was the thing. What was really weird about it was that they didn't make it crazy enough where she was, like,
full-blown,
like, you know, it starts innocently enough, and then it becomes, like, her imagining her replacing the wife.
Yeah.
You know, like holding up a picture or whatever. You know, like something where it's just like, oh, this could be
It didn't escalate to anything interesting. She's, like, laying on these old records.
Yeah.
And she's just like, oh,
well,
God.
old.
Okay, so she's, like, playing his LPs, and she's like, oh my God, I love your collection. And there's, like, a Lana Del Rey record, and I was like, absolutely not. There is no world where Morris Chestnut owns a Lana Del Rey LP.
Right? No.
Maybe he downloaded a single on iTunes just to try it out. He did not buy the whole album on vinyl. No!
And then what was weird too was that, like, Morris Chestnut hadn't told anyone at work that they were, like,
having
a surrogate and having a child.
Yeah.
Which seemed strange to me because I would think, like,
that's not illegal. You're going through an agency. Like,
well,
it's all
why
up
wouldn't
and up and
exactly?
up
Why would you
somewhere.
hide it the way that he was? Wouldn't they need to know? Like, I would assume he would. Well, maybe he wouldn't take paternity leave,
but I mean, eventually they're going to be like, "Hey,
you have a child.
You have a child. Your wife was never pregnant. What's going on?" It was bizarre.
It was so weird.
And the coworker is like, "Oh, can I ask her out?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Isn't the question of why are you pregnant and living at their house going to come up if they start dating?"
If they start dating, yeah. Like, oh, it's been a couple months and you are pregos. And she'd be like, oh, no, don't worry. It's just your friends, your coworkers.
I'm a surrogate. What?
Oh, you mean my cousin? No, he's not my cousin. Like, what?
Oh, right. Morris Chestnut lies and says
she's his second cousin.
Why? The wife is kept in the dark.
Yep.
Is totally just a dumb victim.
Yeah.
Who's not really involved. Which is always kind of a pet peeve of mine in movies.
It's just always so annoying because it's like, huh? And then particularly when it's supposedly such like a strong couple, they kept making these points of like, oh, we've gone through so much together. We're really great now. Like we really
we work together.
And then it was like, oh, but you're not gonna tell her that like she came on to you and sent you like videos of her strip-teasing
with the word baby written across her stomach. It was so weird.
And then you're not going to tell her that you did a background check and that, in fact, this woman has changed her identity and murdered her foster father. You're not going to tell her that? What?
What? Why? What? That was so baffling to me. And so for the last 45 minutes, I was like, tell your wife.
Yeah.
But dude, just tell your wife. But like, tell your wife, just tell her.
So she finds out that she's a crazy psycho bitch and that, you know, she's in love with him and that...
Well, but that was legitimately my favorite part of the movie, even though I didn't love any of it, was when Regina Hall gives this whole speech about, she's like, you go pretend to be in love with her. You convince her to have our baby. I don't care what you have to do.
I don't want to know
tell
about
me
it.
about it. You bring our baby home. Do whatever you have to do. You bring the baby home. And I was like, yeah.
But like what annoyed me then was that they didn't like communicate or work as a team.
No.
It was just him like, you know, saving the day again.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is bullshit. Come on. The story was just real hot mess.
Remember that really weird line when she's talking to Morris Chestnut and she's like,
you're already inside of me.
ah! If you didn't run away screaming then, like, I didn't get her.
I didn't get her at all.
Or her intention. She seemed like a really damaged, sad person.
Yeah.
So when the movie was, like, rooting me on to be like, yeah, fucking drive over her with that car, I was like,
Although I will say...
I mean, it was pretty fabulous.
That was my second, I think, favorite line, was when she just goes, I'm sick of dealing with this bitch, and floors it into her, and I was like, yes.
And then she, like, flies. I mean, it was, like, pretty... It was a lot.
It was a lot.
I don't know. So much more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It really could have.
Like 1,000 times
and
more
it was
interesting.
real dull.
It was the dullest. I was just checking my watch every 5 minutes, being like, how has it only been 45 minutes into this movie? So, I don't know. I feel like, don't go see this movie. Don't bother in any way, shape, or form.
There's much better iterations of this movie. And this one was Like, if it's on Netflix and you're cleaning the house, you know, like, it wasn't, like, offensively, boringly terrible, awful, but it was like,
It was incredibly boring.
It was really boring. It's not great.
It's not.
It's uneven and boring and not great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't recommend it at all.
No, I thought it was going to be, like, fun.
Right.
Like, I thought it was going to be, like, The Perfect Man, where you're like, what?
Totally.
This?
Exactly.
This is crazy.
Yeah, but it was not.
It wasn't.
And that was the bummer.
It
So,
was.
yeah. Cheers.
Too bad. We tried.
I would love you no matter what.
That was the right thing to say. Bingo, bango, here's my vagina.